So welcome to Rise, and tonight with us is Dan Enea from Mohawk Valley Funerals and Cremations, and he's here to discuss grief. And immediately after this, we'll have our grief support group. And Dan, I'll let you introduce.
All right.
her. Go ahead.
That's Marguerite. She works actually in the business of people passing away.
Yeah.
She can probably tell a little more about herself.
I gotta lower this. I work for the newspaper and I edit obituaries. And I also do whatever other grief work I can find.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
What newspaper?
The Times, the OD, and Mid York Weekly.
Go ahead.
All right. So I grew up in the funeral business. I'm probably going to open this up to just questions. I'm sure you might be curious about what funeral directors do and what part they play in the role of death and dying. Our business is taking care of people who pass away, and we're pretty much on call as owners of funeral homes 24/7. We're dealing with people, as you know, you've been through it during the worst time of their lives, so it can be a stressful job, but mostly it's very rewarding job of what we do. It's a college education you must go to. I went to SUNY Canton in Canton, New York, up in the North Country, and received a degree in mortuary science. I went to college there. Following that, I took my national boards test, which is a requirement you have to do, and you also have to take a state board test. You have to take both tests to become a licensed funeral director. Some states you do not have to have any education or pass any tests. You can just become a funeral director. In a few different states you can do that. But in New York State we are very heavily regulated. We must obey by many rules and different regulations, and every year we must obtain continuing education. That's something new that we've been experiencing over the past 5 or 7 years as a funeral director. We must, like any other professional job, get our education in and get so many credits per year. A lot of people ask me, what are your hours? As the owner of the funeral home, it's 24/7, like I said. A lot of people think sometimes getting into this business, it's a 9-to-5 position, and that's where they go wrong. They end up leaving the business because they don't want to be bothered at dinner when they're with their family, or at the
Someone dies, they say die.
pretty much, yeah. As you know, you've probably all had to call the funeral director. There's no set time when you call. We get calls at midnight, we get calls at 2 in the morning, all throughout the day, holidays and weekends, so we're always available. It takes a certain person, I always say. You have to be that type of person that can deal with all different personalities. And again, you're dealing with people during the most difficult time in their entire life, so you have to be sensitive, caring, and compassionate. You have to work with many different people, clergy, newspapers, organizations. We plan everything from the funeral arrangements, add the funeral arrangements for the calling hours. And we've been dealing a lot with cremation lately. It's about 80% of my business now. Most people do want to be cremated at this point in our lives, and I think it's only going to be 100% at some point in the next 15 or 20 years. I really do. It can be. There's many different options that you can have with cremation, from a simple cremation where the person is just cremated and the ashes are returned to the family, or you can also have like a viewing first, where we have an actual casket rental, where we do the embalming process and then the cremation takes place afterwards. So
Is there where, you bring the person to the church in a coffin, and then afterward they get cremated?
that's correct. There's
So
an actual insert inside the
Is
casket.
it more
It's a
expensive
shell.
that way?
It can be, yes. Yeah. Well, it is more
Yeah.
expensive than if you were just to do like a direct cremation. That, of course, would be a little more expensive. But we perform all aspects of the funeral.
Is it a lot more? Probably is.
It depends on, you know, as far as what you choose, is like if you get into choosing different items for the funeral and things like that, it can add up. But we have a general price list that we give out to the public if they ask for it, where you can kind of estimate what it may be, so people are understanding of what it is before they make the selections at the funeral arrangements. We have a lot of people that come in and pre-plan. That's very popular ever since COVID. That's been very popular, where they come in and they want to get their wishes known, whether they just sit down with me and give me their information or they go as far as prepaying. We have a lot of that as well. A lot of people will come to me when their parents or something are going into the nursing home and they have to do the spend down process for Medicaid. One way that you can spend down is to put the money towards a funeral. The government will not go after that money. It's to be used for the funeral only, so that's very beneficial to the family. So a lot of people do that as well. I think Marguerite wants to talk a little about, you know, the end of bereavement and grieving and things like that. I just thought I would kind of explain in detail what we do as a funeral director. Do you have any questions on what our role is in, you know, the death and dying process? Or
I do. Do you have
Yep.
like other options? Like I'm hearing about these mushroom pods and tree pods and stuff like that. Do you guys do stuff like that?
with cremation?
I don't know. Is it cremation?
Yeah, I believe if the ashes are planted in a certain vessel, they'll be planted into either a tree or what you said. But we do absolutely do that, and a lot of people are choosing those different options nowadays, where they want to be in a tree, their ashes planted in a certain tree, and it grows in their memory. We have people come in with jewelry, and we split the ashes up into different pieces of jewelry. I don't know if you've all experienced a loss if you chose cremation or burial, but I'm sure you're familiar with the different cremation
I had
options.
a neighbor, her daughter passed away, they cremated her. They were, one daughter school, sing with a necklace.
Yep.
With somewhere. No, I felt, it was creepy to me.
Yeah, everybody's different. You know, some people find it that, and you know, some people are totally comfortable with
that
it.
only holds on to you don't let go there, to me. Because I saw her, she took it in her bedroom, she took it wherever she wanted. And then I thought, you didn't let go of the person like that.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that will come up to me after that. If they do just like a direct cremation and no services, they'll say they wish they had closure. It's always important that you do see the person before they, you know, are moved forward with cremation or burial. I think that's important. I know the person might not have wanted that, but funerals are for the living, you know. So it's important that you're aware of what you are going to need.
What the
Yeah.
person wants.
Exactly, as far as closure, and it's very important for somebody to come in and at least touch the person or be with them one more time before the final disposition takes place. I think that's extremely important. Any other questions?
I know there's a natural cemetery down by, I think, Ithaca, Newfield, is it?
There's one in Johnstown as well.
In Johnstown.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
go into like a wicker basket,
Mhm.
the person's full body,
Yeah.
and that's it, into the wicker basket and into the ground.
Is
And
that
you-
cheaper?
Of course.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You don't have to go through the embalming process or, you know, have any services or anything like that. So you just go into that container and then into the ground.
I had a friend, she was a young girl, died from, I think it was ovarian cancer.
Okay.
And she chose that, and they wrapped her in the what is that called? That
Muslin.
Muslin. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they can plant a tree or move a rock. It has to be a natural landmark.
Okay.
They can't from what I understand, they can't even do a headstone or anything. but
Yeah, it's different.
It is different.
We deal with all different beliefs and religions, and I do a lot with the monastery. They do a completely different thing. You know, people are coming from all over the world to be buried up in Jordanville at that monastery. I will go to the airport and transport them as a licensed funeral director to the monastery, and they take over from there. So
Wow, I
Jewish
didn't know
people
that.
do different things. We've had a couple Muslim funerals where they go and they shroud the body and they have their service and do the burial. It's all everything. There's all different types of,
There's time
Ways and
constraints, isn't there, for Jewish and Muslim?
for the most part, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My daughter, excuse me, my grandson passed away 2 years ago. He froze to death in Vermont. He was a boy that,
Okay.
and my daughter, she had him cremated, but it'll be 3 years in February. She's got him, I know everybody grieves differently, but she has in the bedroom where his bedroom was, and she says she's banned him to his bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah. People deal with it in all different ways, and Marguerite, I'm sure, will tell you. You know, yeah.